Welcome to another day on planet Earth. Well, if you've been on planet Earth for a while, chances are you picked up some crazy beliefs. Stuff like, I'm not good enough. There's something broken about me. There's something I need to hide or be ashamed of, or there's something that I need to do to complete myself. Sometimes even a feeling of, I don't really belong here. I shouldn't be here. Who I am is something that I need to hide. Now, don't worry, it's not your fault. We don't play the blame game here. I mean, you landed on Earth and you were fed. And just like you were fed food, you also fed beliefs and thoughts. You were given shelter, clothing, education, but you were also given a world view, a view of seeing yourself and the world and those around you. But again, there is no blame. It doesn't matter who gave you those thoughts. The people that did that were also victim to the same thoughts, to the same consciousness. And they did the best they could with what they knew. And it's funny how no matter where you land on planet Earth, people all over the world share a similar feeling to a certain extent. Everyone feels that way. And there are some people that spend their entire lives carrying those thoughts and beliefs with them, always thinking, going through the entire life thinking, there's something wrong with me. I need to fix something about myself. I'm not good enough as I am. Just as I am, I need to do something. And all their lives, to the very last day, thinking, who I am is not good enough, and who I am is broken. But at the same time, life wants to grow. You can see it from a little flower to every human. There's this urge to grow and expand. And those beliefs sometimes, first of all, they contradict the growth. You want to grow, but you don't think you're good enough. And sometimes they work together and you pursue things that are not in your best interest. You spend your life impressing other people or choosing a career that doesn't fulfill your soul because these thoughts, if you act on them, if you believe them, make you do things. If you think you're broken, then you want to do things to fix yourself, right? And then you look outside of yourself and, oh, look at that job, look at that income, look at the prestige. Usually it's not the job that people are excited to do, it's how will other people see me if I have that job. And so you can see that the goals and ambitions lots of people have for themselves are inspired by those thoughts, by this underlying sense of, I'm not enough. But I want to tell you that the process of growth is not adding more stuff to you. It's not having a certain amount of money or title or accomplishing something or getting the approval of other people. What you're looking for is not more, because there's nothing that you need to add to yourself. It's about releasing and letting go of those thoughts and beliefs that you were given that don't belong to you. You carry them with you. Everyone has them, but they're not a fundamental part of you. You just pick them up. And you identified with them so much that you think, oh, this is who I am. This is true. But growth is releasing those thoughts and realizing that underneath those thoughts, there's a you that doesn't need fixing, a you that's already enough, a you that belongs in this world and has a place. Now, how do you release those thoughts? And every person on this planet has some kind of agenda, philosophy, ideas. But I encourage you to look at nature. Look around you. Nature doesn't have any agenda. Nature just is. It just exists. And you, doesn't look like it. You don't have roots, or you don't have, but you belong to nature just the same way. You're a part of nature. You're a part of this planet. You're a part of this life. And wouldn't it make sense to discover something about yourself from the nature that's around you? Just take a crazy human belief of who I am is something to be ashamed of. I need to hide it. Have you ever seen a flower trying to hide itself? Being ashamed of who it is? A flower is just there. It's just blossoming. Or not. It's just there. I mean, why would a flower be in this world if it wasn't meant to be seen? Why would you be in this world if you were not meant to be seen? Now, if a flower could create a story of, I'm ashamed or I'm not good enough, then it might try to hide. But it would have to create a story, and it can't do that. You can, and you might have. That's why it's important to realize this growth you're looking for is not more things, it's letting go of that story, letting go of that thought. Let's take a look at nature again. You might regret things you've done, or you're not proud of who you used to be. You made mistakes and you feel guilty. Can you imagine a tree thinking, when I was a sapling, when I was a little, I didn't have branches, it was tiny, I didn't have any leaves. There were 10 leaves, nothing. And I'm so ashamed of who I used to be. Or looking around at other trees and thinking, where I am right now is not good enough. Look at those other trees. They're much taller, they're much stronger. And I need to be like this. And as long as I'm not there, I'm not good enough. Or a tree rejecting itself. I will accept myself once I've bigger branches, once I've more leaves, once I'm a certain height. Once I'm a certain height, I've I've achieved it. I'm there. Then I'll be satisfied and happy. Can you imagine a tree doing that? Can you imagine anything in nature questioning if it has a right to exist? If it should exist at all? That it should be here? Or does it simply exist? Commercial break, sponsored by myself. If you want to wake up happier, get your free messages from life. Think of it as your almighty penpal, sending you daily encouragement. It's free, and you can sign up below. Thanks so much. Fact is, you are here in this life, on this planet. You have a breath, you have a heartbeat. You belong here. You're already here. It's you're arguing with life every time you question your own existence, or if you're good enough to exist. You're arguing with life. You're arguing with what already is. You're already here. You can't deny that. You can make up a story of that you shouldn't be here, or that you're not good enough to be here. You can do all those things, but it doesn't change the fundamental fact. Just like every tree and flower has a right to exist and be here, you have a right to be here in this life. You have a right to exist, to be seen, to express yourself. And it doesn't matter where you currently are. Again, nature doesn't go around judging itself. A tree doesn't say, not good enough now. It needs to be taller. It needs to be different. I need to be where I am right now. I'm ashamed of it, right? It's God. Can you imagine these neurotic thoughts? A tree is okay at whatever stage of growth it is. And so are you. Where you are right now is okay, except for the story you make up that it isn't. But again, it's just a thought, a story. Don't think it's your story. You might add some details to it, but it's the story you were given when you grew up. Do you think it's a coincidence that all people run around with the same story of where I am is not good enough, and once I reach this, then I will be happy? And every person runs around with these thoughts to some extent, some more, some less. So don't make it into your story. It's just beliefs that you carry with you. And look at life in its purest form, because that was you before you added all these things to you. Imagine you did that to nature. Imagine you take a walk in the forest, and I give nature a brain. I give it your brain. I give it a human mind. That'd be a crazy forest. You'd not want to be there. Trees would start competing. They'd hate each other. They'd form groups. They might form governments and countries. They might elect dictators. They might have counseling and feuds. And, well, they'd have a human society. They'd have a very, very crazy relationship with themselves and others, and the forest would start arguing against itself, like branches of a tree fighting with each other. It'd be absurd, but that's what a lot of us do. Why do you think it makes any more sense to think those thoughts and hold those beliefs about yourself if they're not true of nature, of life around you? Why would they be true of you? And once you can laugh at those thoughts, once you can just scratch your head and think, this doesn't make any sense, it's absurd. That's the first step to letting those beliefs go, to releasing them, because you realize they were not true in the first place, and they're not true now. It's just something added to you that never belonged to you. You've been carrying it with you, but it's not yours. And you can let it go. But first, you need to realize it's not yours and it's not true. And you do that by looking around. So I encourage you, take a walk in the forest. Look at your garden. Look at nature around you. And realize, if it isn't true of nature, it's not true of you. Who you are didn't come into this world broken. You are enough. You don't need to justify your existence. You're already alive. You don't need to impress other people or accomplish something or do. There's nothing that you need to do to justify your existence. A flower, a tree, nothing needs to justify being here. And everything has its place in existence. There is no flower that shouldn't be here. There's no tree that shouldn't be here. There's nothing in this life that doesn't belong here. You are no exception in this universe. You too belong in this world. You too have a place on this beautiful planet. And you only need to accept and realize that this has always been true. And yes, sometimes you'll have thoughts swirling around in your head, telling you the opposite, or that first you need to do something to be okay, or you need to accomplish something, or you need to, God knows, do something stupid. And that's what most of us spend our lives doing stuff that we don't really want to do to justify being on this planet. And you can let go of that. Let nature be your teacher and show you who you fundamentally are. Wait, before you go, I gave you free will, so I can't force you. But I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and that little bell. And thank you for watching. And thank you for being here on planet Earth. It's a lot more fun with you around.